Good morning, juniors. It's time for yet another episode of World War II. This is actually our last section of the chapter. We're going to talk about the Yalta Conference, the Potsdam Conference, and victory in Europe and victory in Japan. We're going to sum it all up in about 7 slides. So I don't expect I'll go the full 15 minutes, but I might come close. I hope you are having a great day. I miss you all. We're not going to have a quiz at the end of this video. We're going to do a question that I hope will spark some feedback from you guys, and let's talk this through and see what can we find. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at the Holocaust specifically. Not sure yet quite how I'm going to do it. Your book has just a very brief description of the Holocaust, and I know we've all studied it before, but I want to once again look at that and pay tribute to the lives of those who were lost in the Holocaust. So let's pick up where we left off yesterday. We were at the Battle of Okinawa, the bloodiest campaign in the Pacific. And about that time, we need to shift gears and go to Yalta, the Yalta Conference. At the Yalta Conference, it was held in November of 1943. Roosevelt from the United States, Churchill from Britain, and Stalin from Russia met in Yalta for a second time. They'd previously met in Tehran, in the country of Iran. Yalta is is on the Black Sea. They'd met there to discuss how they were going to handle things after the war was over. And they continued that meeting at Yalta, making plans for post-war Europe. Roosevelt, at this point, had just won another term as president. This is 4. Okay, this is number 4. There will never be a president again who will have 4 terms. He did, however, switch his vice president at this point. He'd had a man named Henry Wallace as his vice president, and Henry Wallace was creating some division within the Democratic Party. The Southerners didn't like him because they thought he was too liberal, and Northern political bosses didn't like him because he had strong ties to labor. So Roosevelt had solved that political crisis within his party. So when he got to Yalta, he was really thinking that he could solve any problem. He felt pretty good about it. But his new vice president was Harry Truman, who, kind of fit the bill and made everybody happy in between. Okay. So Roosevelt believed at the Yalta Conference that he could work effectively with Stalin. And I think in a lot of ways he underestimated Stalin. He underestimated the let me see if I can get rid of that glare. There we go. The effectiveness of Stalin, the sinister attitude, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. Stalin was not keeping his word, and you would think that Hitler would have taught Roosevelt some lessons, inadvertently, about not listening to Stalin, but Roosevelt didn't really learn. Stalin promised to join the war against Japan once Germany was defeated. Stalin didn't want to divide his troops up between the 2 different war fronts. And Roosevelt felt like he would keep his word and that he would do that. But at that point, at the Yalta Conference, the 3 men, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, make plans to divide Germany into 4 zones, and Berlin also. And we will talk more about this in the coming chapters as we get into the Cold War. But this division is going to set Germany up for 50, not quite 50 years, maybe 35 to 40 years of political division. Okay. Interestingly enough, though, one of the reasons some people think that Roosevelt listened so much to Stalin and went along with him is that Roosevelt wasn't really feeling that good. He died just 8 weeks after leaving Yalta. In fact, he died here in Georgia, at Warm Springs, Georgia, of a cerebral hemorrhage, which is a brain bleed. and Harry Truman becomes president. Okay, so American and Russian forces start approaching Berlin. They are ready to move into the city. Mussolini is captured and shot. He's captured in northern Italy. He's found to be dressed as a German soldier trying to sneak out of the country. The anti-fascist movement in Italy finds him. They hang him in the city of Milan. Literally, they hang him upside down in the city of Milan so that everybody can come by and see that Mussolini is really dead. The people of Italy were beyond excited that Mussolini was gone. Hitler, as we know, commits suicide. He even ordered the death of his own dog, which I thought was really sad. And the death of his wife. His wife, of course, he's married her 2 days before. She commits suicide with him. It is believed she ingested poison. We don't know if Hitler ingested poison or if he just shot himself. He could have done both. Either way, they commit suicide, and the Nazis surrender. The date of that, VE Day, the date, very important to know, is May 7th, 1945. I've given you 3 dates. I'm going to give you a 4th. Okay? December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. That's the attack of Pearl Harbor. Know that date. June 6th, 1944, Normandy. Normandy invasion, June 6th, 1944. Third date, May 7th, 1945, Victory in Europe Day. The 4th day will be Victory in Japan Day. We'll get to that in just a minute because it's a few months away. Okay, so 3 dates to know. I probably will ask you what is the significance of and put the date, but know the dates, okay? All right, so they met at Yalta. We have victory in Europe now. Russia should be joining the war with Japan. The big leaders are going to meet once again at Potsdam, but remember, Roosevelt has died. And Britain has actually had elections, and Churchill also is no longer in office. His party got removed from power, and Clement Attlee takes his place as the Prime Minister of Britain. So Truman, Attlee, and Stalin meet at Potsdam to decide how they're going to work out the specific details of restoring Europe. This is just outside of Berlin, by the way. Stalin had already set up puppet governments. Do you know what a puppet government is? This is a government that is set up to look independent, but it's really controlled by somebody else behind the scenes. Stalin is controlling the governments of much of Eastern Europe, excuse me. At that meeting, these 3 leaders demand Japan's unconditional surrender. But Japan is not ready to listen yet. At that meeting, Truman also learns that the atomic bomb test has been successful. The actual telegram that he received is in your book on page 518. It's really interesting to read it. Of course, it's all in code. It's says, Doctor has just returned most enthusiastic and confident that the little boy is as husky as his big brother. Big Brother is the name of the first bomb that was exploded in practice. It's all in code. You can read it in your book. I don't need to take the time to do it, but it was really interesting. Okay. So we know we have the atomic bomb if we need it. We continue fighting, trying to move into Japan, but Japan just refuses to surrender. And we've talked about that before, that the Japanese mindset is such that it is, that personal honor is determined by your country, and fighting for your country and dying for the cause of your country is the prominent honor that can come to a Japanese soldier. So he's never going to surrender. On August 6th of 1945, the first atomic bomb is dropped on Hiroshima by Colonel Paul Tibbets. and the ship the Enola Gay. Japan still refuses to surrender. At Hiroshima, it is estimated that 70,000, or 1/4 of the city's residents, died. On that day, approximately half of the city was completely destroyed. Tens of thousands later died of radiation exposure or injuries from the bomb, but 70,000 of the 280,000 residents died the day of the explosion. 3 days later, on August 9th, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Again, about 1/4 of the city's residents are killed the day the bomb is dropped. At this point, Truman makes the statement that, we will continue to do this until you surrender. So on August 14th, what is that? First one was dropped on August 6th. Let me go back here. Second one on August 9th. So 5 days later, Japan agrees to surrender. What Japan did not know at the time was we didn't have another bomb. We dropped all we had. It was going to take us a while to come up with another one, to build another bomb. Fortunately, we didn't have to. This formal ceremony takes place on September 2nd, 1945. So Victory in Japan Day, VJ Day, is September 2nd, 1945. That took place on the USS Missouri out in the middle of the ocean of the Tokyo Bay. But the end of war does not bring the end of suffering. Millions are destitute. Can you wrap your head around that number? 50 million people died in the course of war. That's soldiers, civilians, children. At least 6 million of those were Jews who died in the Holocaust. 50 million people. It is just unimaginable. 400,000 Americans died. Those were all basically sailors, soldiers, Marines. We did not see the civilian loss in America that was evident in other parts of the world. We were fortunate. And America is now going to wear the mantle of world leadership. And hopefully we wore it honorably and well. We'll get into that more as we keep going. So that is the end of World War II. Fortunately, it did come to an end. Excuse me. I hope you all are doing well. I miss you. We will schedule a Zoom meeting for later this week. I'm trying to decide when I'm going to do it because I'm going to try to get all my different classes done. So if you have any problems or questions, let me know. But I am working through grading and trying to get stuff back to you as quickly as I can. And let me know if you have any problems or questions, okay? I'll talk to you soon.